up? What's going on? Thank you for tuning in to episode 113 of Who Gives A Dram. We're here. I'm very thankful to be here for another week for the 113th episode. Technically the 113th episode because we did come out with an episode last week, but that was a little bonus for y'all for being such good listeners and supporters of the podcast. So I appreciate each and every one of you for listening, for watching, for subscribing, and for just being the best. You guys are the best. We're going to have a little bit of a different podcast this week. Well, actually, no, we're not. This is just different for me. It is probably the latest I've ever recorded outside of last week, which we'll get into. But it's a late night, and I'm going to have a late night because I have a big travel day on Friday for a big trip this weekend. Again, we'll get more into that in a little bit. I'm just realizing right now I forgot my water bottle. Shit. Whatever, we're gonna plow through. We're gonna plow ahead and see how this episode goes. I have no idea where this episode's gonna go. I know the whiskey we're gonna review. I don't know. I have some talking points. I don't know if it's gonna be 25 minutes or an hour and 25 minutes. But this will come out Thursday, March 16th, the day before St. Patrick's Day. So happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Be safe tomorrow. Don't drink and drive. Drink responsibly and drink a little bit of whiskey. Even if you're not a whiskey drinker, just drink a little bit. What's it gonna hurt? It's what the Irish do. So, I am using a different microphone today because I forgot one cord for my new Rode caster. And that's because our bonus episode on Sunday. So if you listen to the show, I'm sure you know by now that on Sunday, I released a bonus live episode of Who Gives A Dram where we recorded live at the annual Gilbert St. Patrick's Day party. And I had a blast, man. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. Thank you for everyone who joined the show. It was so fun being able to just have the podcast station set up and just kind of go through. The way we did it was I had everything set up. I had everything ready. All I had to do was press record, and we were live. And I wanted to get as many people as possible before things got out of hand, potentially, which they didn't this year. But I wanted to be able just to have those memories recorded, and I'm excited for like 6 months from now when I re-listen to that episode and I hear talking Irish whiskey with my Uncle Mike, or talking with my buddy Steven, or my sister, or Jordan, or Ryan, or Kale, or whoever was on the show, Linda and Liz, Ronan and Declan. Thank you all for coming on. I had a great time, and it was a great recording, and I really enjoyed myself. So the party went well. That was how I spent my weekend, really, is doing that party, and I had a great time. I didn't really drink a lot. I drank a healthy amount, but not a lot, and woke up feeling refreshed on Sunday, except for the fact it was an hour later. So that's what's really going on right now. Is I'm so tired from just the time change. The time change is really getting to me. And it's no excuse, man. Because the thing I've realized, since really for the past few months is, nobody ever gets a perfect night of sleep. Nobody ever has everything happen to them in a day that they want to happen. Everything always goes a little off track. There's always small imperfections. Even if they're minuscule, there's always something that kind of doesn't go according to plan. And the purpose of life is just to roll with the punches and have a good time doing it. And have I been getting really no sleep at all? Yeah, but I still get up every day, go to work. I still lift, I still work out, and I'm here at 9:43 at night doing this podcast because I want to do it. Do I also want to drink a little whiskey and have an excuse to do that so I don't feel bad about drinking by myself? Yes, of course. But that's not why we're here. It is still Irish Whisky Month, seeing as we're in the middle of March. And I wanted to bring something out this week that was different. I was going to review something, but the bottle was finished at the St. Patrick's Day party. So we got the backup here, and it's a great backup. I hope it's a great backup because this is the Bushmills Prohibition Recipe Irish Whiskey by order of the Shelby Company Limited. This is the Bushmills release that Bushmills made for season 6 of Peaky Blinders. And if you are a listener of the show, you can see the bottle on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, you'll know that I did a episode back in the late days of summer, another bonus episode comparing and pairing my top TV shows with whiskeys. And my number one TV show of all time is Peaky Blinders. I've watched it through many times, and I thoroughly enjoy it. So when I saw that this bottle was going to be released, I was going to immediately jump on it until my brother bought it. So what's Kale's is mine. That's just the way life works. So there's just a small amount out of here, and I haven't had any of this yet. And I've actually never had the regular Bushmills either. But this is a few proof points higher. This is 46% ABV, or 92 proof for us Americans. 750 mils, by order of the Shelby Company Limited edition, the old Bushmills Distillery Company, the oldest distillery in Ireland. Whiskey's good proofing water tells you who's real and who isn't. Tommy Shelby, which is a famous quote from Peaky Blinders, and I remember him saying that. I don't remember what episode it was or even what season it was, but I do thoroughly remember him saying that because when he said it, I remember thinking, that's awesome. Because Peaky Blinders is also one of the main reasons I got into whiskey in the first place, because they were drinking it all the time. And I was like, I want to be that cool. Gimme. This is aged for a minimum of 3 years. And we'll talk about this more later on the podcast. But let's crack this baby open now. Solid pop and real cork. Good start for Bushmills. I love syrup. All right. We'll let that rest for a little bit in the Glencairn. Get this in frame. All right. I had a great week, though. If we're going to get into the rest of my week, I got a good workout in today. And I got a good workout in yesterday and Monday as well. I did cardio yesterday, which was Tuesday. And work's been going well. Podcasts are going well. We had great interviews on Bourbon with Friends this week. We talked to Dan Calloway, who's the VP of Product Development at Bardstown. We talked to Blake Ferguson, who is the starting long snapper for the Miami Dolphins, who a few days ago signed Jalen Ramsey. So shout out to the Dolphins. That's a great pickup. And shout out to my Giants, by the way. Signed Darren Waller, top 5 wide receiver in the league. Great sign. Not sure why the Raiders got rid of him, but great sign, great pickup from the Giants, and gives Danny Dimes a legit target to throw to now because we have no receivers. And I cannot wait for football season again. Oh, man, I can't wait. Anyways, so that was fun. The time change really screwed me up, but everything else is good. Everything else is gravy. I have to start packing immediately after we get off this podcast because I'm going to Colorado on Friday. And I think I've talked about this on the podcast. I think I talked about it last episode probably. Or maybe I even did it. Maybe it wasn't even confirmed yet. I don't even know. I'm not going to check. I'll just tell you about it again. This Friday, I am flying out to Denver, Colorado with Paul, my co-host at Bourbon with Friends podcast. And we are going to drive down to Colorado Springs and visit our friends at 291 Distillery, who are going to be friendly enough to host us and friendly enough to provide us with some really cool tastings. And we'll do a podcast with them live, and it'll be fun. And then the next day, we're going to drive out to Vail, Colorado, about 2.5 hours away. And we are going to stay in the mountains. We have an Airbnb, and we're going to make our way to 10th Mountain Distillery, who is going to be providing us with a barrel pick for the second annual Bourbon Ball, happening late June, or July 1st, I should say, which is awesome. And we were able to talk with Brian, who heads up military sales over at 10th Mountain. We hopped on an Instagram live with him last week, had a great time, and we're really looking forward to going there as well. That will be a great time. They're going to give us essentially nine different whiskeys to pick from. They're rye whiskeys, in order for us to pick our barrel, and they're going to donate a half barrel to us for the Bourbon Ball. So about 100 or between 100 and 150 bottles, I believe, and it's going to be great. And I'm looking forward to getting out there. I've always wanted to go to Colorado. And no, it's not because of weed. I mean, I've never smoked weed a day in my life. It's just because it's so much different than it is out here. You know, if you go up to New Hampshire, Vermont, where I am, you'll see some mountains or upstate New York, Pennsylvania. But the Rocky Mountains, the actual mountains out in Colorado are, from the pictures, a sight to behold. So I'm excited to spend some time out there and to drink some good whiskey, meet some good people, and just enjoy myself for a few days. We're flying out Friday. I have a very early flight Friday morning, connecting in Detroit, and then flying down to Denver, where I will meet Paul, and we'll fly down, or we'll drive an hour away to Colorado Springs, which is crazy. Two big cities in one state are just an hour away, Denver and Colorado Springs. But that's what it is, and I'll be spending my St. Patrick's Day in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So if you're out that way, hit me up. I don't know if anyone listens to this podcast in Colorado, but just hit me up. Let me know. Yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm very much looking forward to that. Very, very much looking forward to that. So that's what I've got going on this weekend. And let's touch on a few topics before we get into the review. I have a few topics written down. We'll go right in order. Usman vs. Edwards 3 preview. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm going to search the card real quick because it is a great card. But this event is happening this Saturday, March 18th. And let me tell you, it's a great card, man. It's a great card. And the UFC just been putting on hitters this year. So I am very much looking forward to this card. I don't know if I'll be able to watch it, but I'm going to try my damnedest to try it. You know, your boy needs to get his fix of UFC in if they're on. So even if I have to buy it and watch it on my phone, I think we're going to be at a concert Saturday night or something, I'll do that. So the card kicks off with Marvin Vettori, UFC middleweight, versus a guy named Roman Dolidze from Georgia, the country, not the state. He's the number 9 ranked middleweight. Don't know much about him. He's 7-3, but I do like Marvin Vettori. He is a stud. He does provide issues for anybody he fights, including Adesanya when they fought. And I will say Vettori will win that fight by decision. Then we have Jennifer Maia versus Casey O'Neill. I'm not too sure about either of them. I think they're both two very well-rounded women fighters. That one has a toss-up. I don't know. We have Brian Barberena versus Gunnar Nelson. I am rooting hard for Gunnar Nelson, who is a minus 380 favorite currently at the time of this recording. Gunnar Nelson hasn't fought in a while. He is 18-5 in the welterweight division from Iceland. And he fought in March of last year, I think. And he won by unanimous decision. But before that, he hadn't fought since 2019 when he got beat by Gunnar Nelson. And then before that, he lost to Leon Edwards, who's the current champion. Gunnar Nelson is a training partner of Conor McGregor. So he's a good fighter. I am rooting for him. Brian Barberena is good, but I don't think he's as technically sound as Gunnar Nelson. So I'm taking Gunnar Nelson. I'll take him by submission, round 3. Co-main is where the fireworks start. Justin Gaethje making his return versus Rafael Fiziev, who is 12-1, the number 6 lightweight in the world, known for putting on firework fights. He beat Rafael dos Anjos by KO. He beat Riddle by KO. He beat Bobby Green by unanimous decision. And he is the perfect matchup for Justin Gaethje going into this weekend as the co-main event. Justin Gaethje, obviously, if you are any type of fight fan, you know who this guy is. The highlight reel, Justin Gaethje, the number 3 UFC lightweight in the world. 24-4 record, 19 wins by knockout, 9 first-round finishes, a plethora of UFC bonuses, always gets fight of the night. His most recent loss was to Charles Oliveira by submission when Charles Oliveira was still champion. That was almost a year ago. That was May 2022. Then he beat Michael Chandler in a fight of the year candidate back at, I forgot what card it was, but November 6, 2021. It was the day that my cousin Matt got married. That's how I remember that fight. Then he lost to Khabib in Khabib's last fight, October 24th, 2020. He beat Tony Ferguson, he beat Donald Cerrone, and he beat Edson Barboza in his UFC tenure. Then he beat James Vick. He lost to Dustin Poirier. He lost to Eddie Alvarez, and he beat Michael Johnson in his UFC debut. So he's fought the who's who of the lightweights. I'm going to take, however, Fiziev by knockout. I think that although Justin Gaethje is entertaining, he can get wild, and from what I understand, Rafael Fiziev might be a little bit more technical and a bit fresher, is the only way to put it. But the main event is what I want to talk about here. This is why we're watching this card. This is why I'm buying this card. This fight is taking place at the O2 Arena in London, UK, and it is Kamaru Usman fighting for the welterweight championship of the world against the now champion Leon Rocky Edwards. Their last fight left us with the greatest knockout in UFC history, and I've said that on the record, and I maintain that statement that Leon Edwards knocking out Kamaru Usman to win the UFC welterweight championship is the greatest knockout in the history of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. The stakes had never been higher. He was getting his ass kicked for 15 minutes prior to that, and there was 1 minute left in the 5th round in a fight that he was surely going to lose, and he pulled out a perfect head kick and knocked out Kamaru Usman cold. And I cannot wait for this matchup, man. Kamaru Usman is currently a minus 230 favorite, which is pretty big. But don't get me wrong, man. I do think Usman is incredibly dangerous here. But Leon Edwards mentioned this in a presser a few days ago, and he said, Kamaru Usman's going to fight me the exact same way he did before. What's he going to change? So I know what's coming, and I'm going to finish him earlier. And I tend to agree with Leon Edwards on that. Kamaru Usman is fantastic and one of the best pound-for-pound fighters we've seen in the UFC, but Leon Edwards took Kamaru Usman down in the first round in their previous fight. He stuffed multiple takedowns, and he is a better striker than Kamaru Usman. I don't know how to score this fight. I don't know what's going to happen, which is why I want to watch it so badly. Two of the best fighters in the world. Leon Edwards finally getting the love he should have gotten, and he was known for not fighting much and for just kind of not being around, but now he's the champ, and he's taking on Kamaru Usman again in London. It doesn't get bigger, it doesn't get better. My gut tells me Kamaru Usman will squeak out a victory, so this will turn into a potential trilogy or 4th fight, technically. But my heart says Leon Edwards gets it done again. My heart says Leon Edwards gets it done again. I find it very hard and difficult to imagine Leon Edwards winning a decision against Kamaru Usman. But at the same time, him finishing Kamaru Usman again seems highly unlikely. But with all that, I still get this feeling in my heart that Leon Edwards is going to pull it out. If I was a betting man, I'd probably go with Kamaru Usman. Although Leon Edwards being plus 195 in London is a very good odd for an underdog. So if I had house money or if I had money to blow, I'd put it on Leon. But if you're working on a budget and you want to be safe, go with Kamaru Usman. The chances he wins are technically probably higher, but I'm riding with my guy Leon Rocky Edwards by stoppage. I said it right there. Leon Edwards by stoppage. I got the Jon Jones fight right. I predicted that fight correctly. Leon Edwards, stoppage. Round 2. Being bold here, boys and ladies and gentlemen. Leon Edwards, stoppage, round 2. How awesome would it be if he got head kicked again? Oof. So that's my little preview for UFC 286 this weekend. Man, I love the UFC and I love MMA so much. I have a bunch of more things to talk about, and we are 21 minutes in, so we're not that far in yet. I'm having a good time, though. I'm a little tired, but I'm having a good time. Brendan Fraser wins Best Actor at the Oscars, and this was something that I wanted so badly to happen because Brendan Fraser deserves what he's getting now. He got blacklisted for speaking out about sexual accusations. And now he's back in the forefront, winning Best Actor for his performance in The Whale, which I haven't seen yet. I'd love to see it soon. And I was rooting. I haven't rooted for someone so hard since Leonardo DiCaprio in 2016 when he won Best Actor for The Revenant. And I was so happy that Brendan Fraser won. I was a little worried that they'd give it to Austin Butler for Elvis, and from what I hear, he would have been well deserved. But this felt like Brendan Fraser's year after the Will Smith debacle last year. We needed something good. We needed something wholesome, and we got that with Brendan Fraser winning Best Actor. And how does he follow up an Oscar-winning performance in The Whale? He goes right into a Martin Scorsese film, co-starring with Jesse Plemons, Robert De Niro, and Leonardo DiCaprio in Killers of the Flower Moon. This is going to be Brendan Fraser's year, man. He's taking over right now, and I'm here for it. So, shout out to Brendan Fraser. What an awesome turn of events that's been. And I very much want to see The Whale. And as soon as I get some free time, I will see it. Another thing that happened was Everything Everywhere All at Once kind of cleaned house. Won Best Supporting Actor and Actress, won Best Lead Actress, and won Best Picture. Maybe won Best Director, I don't know. But regardless of that, I'm on the minority here. I've truly, truly thought that Everything Everywhere All at Once was a bit overrated. I watched it on a plane. I think I watched it, on the way home from Amsterdam, on my way back home from Scotland. So, pretty sure that's where I watched it. And I thought it was fine. I thought it was good. I thought it was a little weird, but I didn't see where all the hysteria was coming from. And don't get me wrong, Michelle Yeoh was fantastic as the lead actress, and the performances were great. I'm very surprised Jamie Lee Curtis won Best Supporting Actress, but you know, it is what it is. That's Laurie Strode. You don't mess with her. But I'm in the minority here. I don't think Everything Everywhere All at Once should have been the Best Picture of the year. In my humble opinion, and what do I know? But in my humble opinion, you give the Best Picture to the movie that single-handedly saved cinemas throughout the country, if not worldwide. You give the Best Picture to the movie that defined movies in the year 2022. It changed pop culture. It put the emphasis back on going to the movie theaters to experience a film as it should be. And that's Top Gun Maverick. And part of me knew that wasn't going to happen, that they're not going to give a Tom Cruise movie best picture. But I really, really do think that it was overwhelmingly deserving of that best picture nod, because it wasn't just an action movie with great sound and editing and cinematography. It was a well-crafted story with a very distinguishable plot device, character-driven dialogue, and a performance from Tom Cruise and Miles Teller and Jennifer Connelly just captivated you in this action movie, a sequel to a 1980s fighter jet movie. That's a classic, but no one really considers Top Gun a piece of cinema. It's an action film that was great. I really do think Top Gun Maverick should have won the Best Picture, but, it didn't. But I think in the hearts of most people, that was the movie of the year, because that single-handedly saved cinemas in 2022. In a year where we're still on the edge, you had Spider-Man No Way Home blow up in theaters at the end of 2021, but that was driven by superhero, nostalgia, Marvel, big budget, that type of thing. And don't get me wrong, I'm not downplaying Spider-Man No Way Home. It was a fun film. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. But Top Gun Maverick, I don't think anybody expected that thing to be as good as it was, and as popular as it was, and as integral to society and to pop culture and to the year as it was. So that's my little rant about the Oscars, but I was, more so than anything, I was happy that Brendan Fraser won. We're going to do a few reviews here, quick. And by the way, everything will be timestamped below if you want to jump ahead to the whiskey review, or if you want to jump ahead to anything that I'm going to talk about here soon. But The Last of Us ended on Sunday. I watched it, of course. And I got to tell you this, I really liked the show. I really liked it. Pedro Pascal as Joel, and the little girl, Bella Ramsey, who plays Lori. I forgot her name. Sorry, forgot her name. But great dynamic. I was a little skeptical at first, after the first episode or two, but great dynamic. I was a little, I don't want to say let down, because it was technically a great, in every technical aspect, it was a great episode. But I was expecting something different for the season finale. And this is coming from somebody that never played the video game. So don't hate on me. I don't know what happens. I don't know the video game storyline. I've never seen the cutscenes. I've never seen anything. I watched it because of Pedro Pascal and because I knew it was going to be a big budget HBO TV series. And the last time we got that was House of the Dragons. And we all know how I thought about that, what I thought about that show. And season 1 overall was a great season. I thought episode 5 with the brothers was one of the most powerful and great television episodes I've seen in a very long time. I'd put it up there with some of the most powerful television I've ever seen, especially as an older brother. I felt it. I felt it deep down inside me, and I don't want to spoil anything, but wow, what a powerful episode that was, and the character development throughout this series, and the plot was fantastic. And the plot is taken from the video game, but still translating that onto the silver screen, as they call television, is difficult. That's not an easy thing to do. So it definitely could have been messed up. When was the last time? I mean, for the years and years and years, there's always video game movies and TV shows never did well. And then we got what was the one that really brought it? Was it Sonic? I think it was Sonic. Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds was another one that wasn't really based on like an actual video game, but like multiple like references. But I guess that doesn't really count. Free Guy. I think Sonic was the first one where it's like, oh wow, you can take this video game character and make a great movie. Jim Carrey with a goated mustache in that movie. But I would say The Last of Us season finale was a bit underwhelming for me. Somebody mentioned that The Last of Us reminded them of Moon Knight, because one of my biggest complaint about Moon Knight was that Moon Knight was in it for 10 minutes. The rest of the time it was the two different personalities, and I want to see Moon Knight in the show called Moon Knight. In The Last of Us, you want to see zombies, and a lot of the season was human and character driven. But I disagree with that. I do think that there was plenty of zombies. There were plenty of clickers, as they say, or there's a few different names for their zombies. But I don't think this was as good as Walking Dead season 1. I will say that Walking Dead season 1, I think, changed my view on this genre of zombies. But that's a lofty goal, because I think most people agree that Walking Dead season 1 was a great season of television. And although The Last of Us season 1 was also a great season of television, I put it about a peg below The Walking Dead season 1. But I will be tuning in for season 2. And moving right along with the Pedro Pascal train, who is the hottest man in Hollywood, right next to Brendan Fraser currently, we have The Mandalorian episode 2, which I loved. I love what they're doing with The Mandalorian right now. I love how it's fast-paced. They're not harboring on any specific plot point. They're kind of just moving the narrative along, because they know that there's a lot to cover. And I love seeing Grogu, aka Baby Yoda, use his powers. I love his little floating sphere that seems to be integral to his movement now, and I really like to see. I mean, his Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian's relationship is so much similar to the Joel and the girls in The Last of Us, where it took Joel some time to really love that girl, but he did. At the end of the season, he loved her like his own daughter, and now Mandalorian, or Din Djarin, loves Grogu like his own son, and it's cool to see the parallels there in two completely different shows. But I loved the Mandalorian episode 2. I'm probably going to watch episode 3 as I pack tonight, so I'm very excited for that. And I hate Bo-Katan. I hated her in episode 1. I don't hate her as much now, but you can tell she's gonna turn and try to do something to Din Djarin. And Din Djarin, by the way, is Mandalorian's real name. That's it. His name is Din Djarin. DINDJARIN. Din Djarin. But regardless, I think it looks great. The Darksaber is so cool. And it had me completely focused on it for the 45 minutes that I was on or so. So I'm excited to watch episode 3 tonight, which we'll talk about next week. Big news in the world of Marvel. Jon Bernthal is confirmed to be returning as the Punisher in Daredevil Born Again. Now this is huge news, because in the MCU, they are notorious for great casting. I think the first and obvious example, and not just one of the best castings in the MCU, nor the best castings in superhero movies, but one of the best castings ever in any film, is Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. You also have Chris Evans as Captain America. Great casting. Benedict Cumberbatch as Stephen Strange. Great casting. You can't really go wrong with Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think that's a pretty good casting. But they have these fantastic. Charlie Cox as Daredevil. Great casting. I mean, doesn't get much better than that. But I would argue that right below Tony Stark as right below Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. Right below Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark lies Jon Bernthal as the Punisher. Punisher Season 1 and Season 2, I can see why people might not like them as much as I do, but I loved them. The 3 seasons of Daredevil on Netflix and the 2 seasons of Punisher on Netflix are 2 of my favorite shows ever. Daredevil made my top 5. Punisher is just outside of it, 100% in my top 10, but I think Jon Bernthal is the perfect casting. I love Jon Bernthal. I think he's an awesome guy. Any movie that Jon Bernthal's in, I'll watch because he's never the lead. He's just in there in the background. For example, Wolf of Wall Street, Fury, Night at the Museum. He just plays in the background. He's not a main character, but he's there. The Walking Dead, he was a main character. He was Shane in Season 1. But I love the fact that they're bringing him back. I am a little worried about the show in general, Daredevil Born Again. It sounds like it's going to get MCU'd, which means it's going to be jokes, and Daredevil's not going to be that badass he was in the Netflix series. And I hated him in She-Hulk. I think him walking out of a one-night stand with She-Hulk in his Daredevil costume still is just a cheeky, dumb joke. I don't understand why people don't want to just see serious superheroes, but that's neither here nor there. I'm very excited for that news. I love Jon Bernthal. I love him. And I'm excited to see what he does with the Punisher within the MCU on Disney Plus, not on Netflix. And I will definitely be tuning into Daredevil Born Again. I hope I'm wrong. They have 35 episodes or whatever to make it right, but bringing Vincent D'Onofrio back as Wilson Fisk is a very, again, what a great casting that is. James Spader as Ultron is a very underappreciated casting for villains in the MCU. People think of Tom Hiddleston as Loki. People think of Josh Brolin as Thanos, which are 2 great castings. But James Spader as Ultron was underrated and sneaky, awesome casting. Anyways, that's that. Weekend box office. Scream 6 tops the weekend box office this weekend. I didn't pull up the numbers, but I can pull up the numbers. Now, Scream 6 is supposedly a pretty good movie. Jenna Ortega, who plays Wednesday Addams in the new Netflix series, stars in the movie. So there's some box office draw. She's one of the most popular people on the planet right now. Let's go on to Screen Rant. Let's see here. I gotta read this. Ugh. Horror has been scaring up the box office throughout 23, with several of the year's biggest new releases outside of Creed 3 and Ant-Man being in the horror genre. Scream 6 not only continues this optimistic trend, but also improves upon the already impressive box office run of Scream 5 and 22, which ended in a worldwide accumulation of $137.7 million. In its opening weekend, Scream 6 earned $44.5 million at the domestic box office, with a global total of $67 million. Scream 6's opening weekend box office success thus came in at nearly half of Scream 5's lifetime gross, making it the franchise's biggest and most impressive debut yet. Listen, Scream, iconic horror villain, iconic horror movies, Drew Barrymore back in the day. Jenna Ortega, they have a solid lead cast there, someone that's going to drive people out to the theaters because of Wednesday and the fact that she's a great actress. I am all for horror movies coming back into the frame. I'm sure my boy Mike Whiskey Morg agrees with me on that. It's cool to see these horror movies come back into popularity. I think it all really started with, from what I can remember, Halloween in 2018 killed it at the box office, and I think horror movies kind of got back. Or no, I'm sorry, I take that back. It in 2017, I think, really brought horror back to mainstream in the cinemas. So that's a very good sign. I love seeing the weekly box office numbers. Creed 3 was number 2 this weekend. Let me look at it. Let's go on to Rotten Tomatoes and look at the actual numbers here. Creed 3 fell 54% this weekend, but that still meant a second weekend of 27.1 million. The 17th film ever released in March to clear 100 million in the first 10 days. So, where's the actual box office? There it is. Yeah, Creed 3 was number 2 with 27.3. 65 starring Adam Driver brought in 12.3 million. I heard that movie's not good. Cocaine Bear still in there. Next week we have Shazam: Fury of the Gods, which I will not be seeing. At all. I will not be seeing that movie because don't wanna. And I think it's gonna be terrible. So I'll wait for that to maybe come out on streaming and maybe watch it then. But I heard the post. Well, I won't spoil it if in case it's right. But I think I know what the post credit scene is, and it's really dumb. Anyways, that's Scream 6. I'll check that out when it comes out. I'll definitely watch it. I mean, the trailer looks cool. Still have to see Creed 3. Haven't seen it yet. As soon as I see it, I will give it a movie review. I do want to quickly review my movie of the week, which I watched. I posted it on Instagram. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, I think. Maybe 4.5. It was one of the best animated movies I've ever seen. And it made me laugh. And it drew me in emotionally. Puss in Boots 2, The Last Wish. Antonio Banderas as Puss in Boots. I think Salma Hayek plays Kitty. Puss, you know. Let's look at it. The old trusty laptop here. Yep, Salma Hayek. Oh, Florence Poe played Goldilocks. She is a smoke show. But who played Death? That's what I want to know. Wagner Moura played the wolf or Death. Man, talk about a terrifying villain for little kids. Death in Puss in Boots 2 was one of the coolest villains I've ever seen. Period. Not in an animated movie, not in a Dream Wish movie, not in a kids movie. No. Ever. He was so cool and so menacing and just standing there. And the whistle was what got me. The fight scenes resembled Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And I said this on Instagram, but it was basically Into the Shrek-verse. Because you saw Pinocchio, you saw the Gingerbread Man. Shrek was in there for a second. He wouldn't, just flashbacks, no cameos, but and then the end of the movie, the movie's been out for a while now, so I am going to spoil it. The end of the movie, they go to, they're sailing a ship to and it says far, far away, like the Hollywood sign, which is essentially where Shrek is. So, maybe Shrek's going to be in the third one. I don't know, but, regardless, a surprisingly powerful movie. That really showcases, some pretty important life lessons of being open and trust and, living life in the moment and, overcoming your fears. Just kind of the basic ones, but they did a great job showing it. The animation was amazing. The villain was amazing. And it was just a movie that I knew I was probably going to like it because I had seen clips on TikTok, but after watching the whole thing, I was like, wow, this is way better than I expected. It looked so cool, and I was very happy I watched it. So I think I gave it 4. It was at least 4 out of 5 stars, maybe even 4.5. It wasn't a perfect 5, but it was just a movie that I will watch again. I'll put it that way. So if you haven't seen Puss in Boots 2, check it out because it is a film worth watching. One more piece of movie news. I know we're talking a lot here, and it is 10:22 p.m., and I haven't packed yet, so I got to do that. But I do have to talk about this. John Wick 4. John Wick 4, and I just want to read this real quick. Let me go into Twitter real quick. because I retweeted this. Am I not logged into Twitter? Really? Log in. There. Who gives a dram? Who gives a dram? Password. Touch ID coming in clutch. All right. Let's go to my Twitter profile, which is at Who Gives a Dram, in case you want to follow me. Here we go. John Wick 4 debuts at 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh. And Deadline, which is a where is it? Oh, it's on my Instagram. Let me go to Deadline real quick. Can I go to my likes? Yeah, it's probably on my likes. I have to read this. I guess I didn't. 1 second. Sorry, I have to search this. Or it's film something. Film discussion or something like that. This is super boring, I know, people, but I have to find this. John Wick 4. Just go to that. It's gotta be one of the first ones. Top, yeah. So yeah, that's not the review I saw. Where the hell is it? It's on my Instagram. Let me log into Instagram real quick. Sorry, people. I know this is boring, but I have to read this because it made me excited. 1 second. Let me go to my story. Can I view my story? Where is it? Okay, here we go. John Wick 4 by Discussing Film. John Wick 4 isn't just the best of the franchise, but one of the greatest action films of our generation. A new triumph of action cinema. And I saw that, and I nearly creamed. John Wick 4, no surprise, is one of my most anticipated films of the year. I will see it opening night. I will change my schedule. I will do whatever I have to see it opening night with my dad and my brother. And the fact that it is getting some of the best reviews I've ever seen. I was worried it might get bad reviews because it's a long movie. It's almost 3 hours, which excites me. But people are saying it's one of the best action movies in recent memory. And man, am I excited. That's all I'm going to say about that because we are kind of far into the podcast. But man, am I excited for that. All right, so we had a lot to discuss this week because we are late on the podcast. But let's go right into the whiskey review now. If you are just tuning in, or if you forgot because it's been 48 minutes since we started the podcast, today we are reviewing Bushmills Prohibition Recipe Irish Whiskey at 92 proof for us Americans, 46% alcohol by volume. This was a release that coincided with season 6 of the Peaky Blinders, which is my favorite TV show of all time. And this is by order of the Shelby Company Limited. I believe the difference between this Bushmills and its regular white label is that this is non-chill filtered, and also it is a bit higher in proof. Whiskey's good proofing water. Tells you who's real and who isn't. Tommy Shelby. Great quote. Aged for a minimum of 3 years in ex-bourbon barrels. So this is basically just a limited edition Bushmills at a little higher proof, and it's also non-chill filtered. I've never had Bushmills straight. I've never had the regular Bushmills. We've done Bushmills 16 year on this podcast as a review way back in the day. So go search that, Bushmills 16 year. It's one of the early reviews we did, but this is something that I wanted to try because I love Peaky Blinders. I did read a few reviews, and people actually quite enjoyed it, so I wanted to see it for myself, and I was looking for this bottle. Kale found it. Kale bought it. What's Kale's is mine because I'm his older brother. So now it's here in the Who Gives a Dram studios, waiting to be reviewed as we move later and later into the night. God, I'm tired. All right, let's give this a sniff. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so I get the like that pot still smell there, like very malty and grainy. Granny Smith apple is on there quite a bit. Very light and inviting. A little bit of a kick there, a little bit of a spice. A little bit of a sweeter spice, maybe like a spicy candy a little bit. I get a little cherry as well. A bit of a cherry along with the apple. Lots of citrus on here, not just apple, but a lot of citrus and bright fruits. Cherry, I'm talking about a bright red cherry candy type of vibe. It's got a good nose. I mean, it's not uninviting. I'm just not the biggest fan of the Irish whiskey, typical Irish whiskey, malt, grain forward nose or palate. I never have been. There's a ever so slight hint of butterscotch on here as well. But what dominates the nose is the apple and malt and grain and citrus, cherry notes that are really forefront. Fruit would be a good overarching note here. Fruit flavors. And then there's a little hint of a darker butterscotch right on the back, but there's nothing really else here. It's a little, smells like it doesn't have much depth to it. Again, I don't have the knowledge of the original Bushmills, the regular white label, to compare this to. So this smells like it would be a Irish whiskey that would maybe be cheaper in value. It does definitely smell young. There's not a lot of oak on there. There's not a lot of darker wood notes. But hey, listen, I'll drink anything and I'll try anything, which we're going to do. So, cheers to episode 113 of Who Gives a Dram, Bushmills Prohibition style Irish whiskey, by order of the Peaky Blinders. It tasted exactly like I thought it was going to taste. A bit spicier. It's actually, it's got a nice little kick to it. That spicy apple spice drop comes out a bit more on the palate, with a little bit more robustness, and by that I mean like a dark wood note. But that citrus and spice, apple spice drop is what dominates the palate on the first sip. I'm sorry, my nose is itching. I'm not picking my nose. It just itches. I promise. I do pick my nose, so I don't want it to seem like, oh, I don't pick my nose. I'm better than that. If you're alone and you don't pick your nose, you're a psycho. Let's take another sip. Got a little bit of a sourness, which is equivalent to a younger whiskey, or which is more prevalent in a younger whiskey, I should say, not necessarily equivalent. It's got a bit more vanilla on the palate. Nothing much. It's very similar to the nose. It's very Irish whiskey-esque with that malt. Smells like it's like in the mash bin, like churning. If you've ever been into a distillery and you see the big mash bins and it's turning, it's spinning. That's just what this smells like. Excuse me. Let's take another sip, shall we? It tastes like a bit of a spicier normal Irish whiskey. Not a whole lot going on here. That apple spice drop is much more prevalent on the palate. I do think that this is very nice at 92 proof. I think if this was 80, this would just be a whole bunch of nothing. The 92 proof is very nice to me because it does have a bit more of a whiskey kick to it. Like it has a bit more of that spiciness that I would be more. I would taste more in maybe like a rye whiskey, rather than an Irish whiskey. But this is quite pleasant. I don't dislike it. I wouldn't reach for this on a daily basis, but it is March. It is Irish Whisky Month here at Who Gives A Dram Studios, so we're reaching for it this month. And I'll take one more sip before I give it a rating, because I need to, because this is kind of perplexing in a not a very good way, but in an okay way. And also, I just want to drink some more whiskey because I'm tired. Yeah, it's like a spicier Jameson or a spicier Bushmills or a spicier Proper 12. It just tastes like a spicier base level Irish whiskey, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that this is fine. It's nothing special. It doesn't blow me away. It's a bottle that I am glad I have because I love Peaky Blinders and I love Tommy Shelby and Arthur Shelby and Linda. But yeah, there's nothing special. I would say this is probably like a 6.5. Like, it's nothing. If you see this and you're a Peaky Blinders fan like me, it's a cool bottle to have. But this is probably going to get regulated to or delegated to whiskey gingers. I can't see myself drinking this neat, but I'm also not an Irish whiskey guy, so that's not like a knock on Bushmills Prohibition style recipe here. This is just me speaking. I'd say a 6.5 is fair. You can definitely pass on this if you're not an Irish whiskey guy, but if you enjoy a different Irish whiskey and you like Peaky Blinders, I would suggest picking this up. Not entirely sure what the MSRP is, but I'm sure it's not very high. And yeah, I'm glad we did it. So 6.5 for Bushmills Prohibition style Irish whiskey here on episode 113 of Who Gives a Dram. And that's going to do it for me, everybody. We're just about an hour in. I'm going to upload this podcast onto all your favorite listening platforms now. So it's out on the airwaves at midnight for you guys on this Thursday, March 16th. Have a happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you for listening. Enjoy your weekend. Let me know what you're drinking. Reach out to me on Instagram at Who Gives a Dram. Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok are also at Who Gives a Dram as well. Reach out to me there. Let me know what you're drinking. Let me know what you're doing. I'd love to speak with you. And if you're in the Colorado area, hit me up. I'd be happy to, if possible, try to get together with any of you guys who are listeners that are in Colorado. That's where I'll be this weekend. The next time I talk to you, I will be back from Colorado. We'll do another Irish whiskey, and we'll talk Colorado. We'll talk Usman Edwards 3 and discuss the fight. We'll talk movies. I'm not sure what movie I'm going to watch this week, but we'll have another great conversation. I enjoyed this episode. I'm very tired right now, but I enjoyed it. So I'm gonna go pack a little bit, so that way I don't have to do it all day tomorrow and edit this podcast and get it out for you guys. So thanks again for tuning in to episode 113 of Who Gives a Dram, and always remember, whiskey's the water of life. So let's start living.